Order. The time is 5:39. I call the meeting of the Apache Junction Public Arts Commission to order. We are meeting at the City Council Chambers at 300 East Superstition Boulevard, Apache Junction, Arizona. And now at this time, can we please stand and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Pledge allegiance
United States
to the
of
flag
America,
of the United States of America,
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So, agenda item number 3 is, may we please have a roll call?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair. Chairman Bice?
Present.
Commissioner Coe emailed us and said she's not available tonight. Commissioner Ham?
Present.
Commissioner Klett?
Present.
Commissioner Nicholas? We were trying to call her as well. Vice Chair Steinberger?
Present.
We have 4 present. We have a quorum, Madam Chair, Vice Chair.
Perfect. So I need a motion to approve the minutes from September 14th.
Agenda.
To approve the agenda from our meeting tonight, September 14th, 2020, as presented.
This is Commissioner Klett. I would like to motion that we approve the agenda for the meeting. 2465, consideration of approval of agenda.
May I have a second?
This is Commissioner Ham. I second.
Okay. Can we please have a roll call?
Commissioner Ham?
Yes.
Commissioner Klett?
Yes.
Vice Chair Steinberger?
Yes.
Chair Bice?
Yes.
Votes 4 in favor, Madam Chair.
Right. Do we have any of our members have an announcement of?
We have minutes next, ma'am. I'm
Minutes.
sorry.
Oh. The approval of minutes. Are there any questions or additions to the August 10th, 2020 meetings? Right. If not, may I have a motion to approve the minutes from that date?
I move to approve the minutes from August 10th, 2020. This is Commissioner Bice.
Thanks.
This is Commissioner Klett. I second the motion.
Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Commissioner Ham?
Yes.
Commissioner Klett?
Yes.
Vice Chair Steinberger?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bice?
Yes.
Vote is unanimous for Your Honor, or Your Honor, Madam Vice Chair.
All right. Announcement of artwork. Do any of our members at this time want to present a brief summary of artwork they've seen?
We did not receive any, Madam Chair, for this
Okay.
particular meeting.
So then let's go on to agenda item number 7, public hearings. There's no public hearing this evening, so I'm going to close this part of the agenda item and move on to old business. So let's turn it over to you, Sydney.
Good evening, Vice Chair and members on the phone. This item is the Public Arts Commission logo, which Matt will present. Matt will be here any second now. He is also recording the meeting. So there he is.
Good. That was good.
Multifaceted Matt.
There you go. Thank
Okay,
you.
there you go.
Thank you. Vice Chair?
Is that on, Matt?
Oh, you got it. They got me. They got me. It's my biggest complaint. Okay, so let's back up really quick. Did a little bit of research, saw that there is a lot out there. Some cities have, like what we have as a commission. A lot of cities seem to have departments, but they all have an idea in common, and that's color. So instead of just kind of focusing on the core, which let me get rid of some of these, So as you know, and for those that can see, this is our core logo. Folks at home, I'm just looking at the video screen of the gold AJ Legends. And if you have your presentation available, you can see that what I'm trying to accomplish since this board, what informed my design decisions is so new. I believe that there needed to be a real sense of flexibility and color. So I picked what are considered your primary colors for print. And of course, you can use these in digital art as well. It'd be RGB based, but right now the core of it is a vector based CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And those four colors are four core colors to allow the logo, the AJ Legends logo, to be a little bit more flexible as this commission begins to find its footing, and as we look at different things that the board can do and will do as we move into the future. One of the questions I asked Sydney was all about, is it possible that there could be sponsorships? Could there be festivals? Could there be things in school? I know there's going to be outreach to the public. The folks already did that with the focal point, or the 100-year centennial celebration. So I learned from that I better get it in color. I'm not going to win. So what you see before you are just really a conglomeration of different ways to have it work on different media. The other thing I'd said to Cindy, I said, hey, since we're seeing a lot of shirts floating around the city, things that I never imagined for the actual Legends logo, that logo was originally developed just to be for the downtown. And I don't know what happened. It got a little crazy, and I started seeing it all over the place, and soon enough it was adopted as a branding logo for tourism for our city, which was very, very cool. I really am very proud of that one. So the combination of colors is, if you were to say this was some sort of style guide, it would basically be, we want this logo to be in some sort of form of CMYK. So if we get a chance as this commission to do, for example, let me jump way to the end here, a art festival poster, we would adapt it to fit, and myself or the people that are sponsoring it, they would be given a brief style guide to say, here's are the things we want you to do with it, and here's are the things that you can do with it to give some flexibility. Some of the things you can't do is you can't change the Surrounded by Legends. You can't change that. You can't change the overall form. And it will need to be transparent, meaning that there is no fixed background other than what it is printed on, or it is added to for like a digital layer as such. So what I think I need to hear from you all is your thoughts on what you see here, and if we can just maybe narrow down into more of something like these four here. As you can see, there's a lot of flexibility there. Some things work better than others. I think, Sydney, we had thought that the yellow banner, while on white, does not work well, but it would work well on another color. So you can see where we can actually go opposite and be able to flip that, which would be allowed under the style guide as I want to present it. But the style guide is something that would be at the end of this. So are there any comments, questions, concerns?
When I looked at these, I looked at them in black and white when I got my agenda. The yellow is what concerned me.
Okay.
And you mentioned, T-shirts and having it on other things. Again, the black and white concerns me as to how the yellow is going to reproduce. The other thing that concerns me is, what if you do want to put it on a T-shirt? It might be problematic for the printer to get that yellow on top of, say, a black T-shirt or whatever. And even on a white, I'm concerned about it fading back. I like the designs. That it's just the yellow that bothers me.
Yeah, it doesn't pop.
Right. Right. Let me.
Hi, this is Commissioner Klett. I like the versatility a lot. I think that's important because it's necessary when we're putting it on different things. I do like the one that says Apache Junction underneath, and I think sometimes that's important too, because when I talk to people and say I'm from AJ, if they're not aware of, our shortening of it, they might look at me odd. So I like that it does say Apache Junction on that other one and the versatility of it.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Buys. So in your development of your, like the graphic standards or the design standards, is there a clearance, like a border around the logo that you've considered, so that it kind of sets itself apart from any of the, any adjacent text or graphics?
Yeah, so like with the Legends logo, that would be the gold version that we use at this here, kind of in a semi-official capacity. We would probably put on there, there is a minimum of about 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch that I would respectfully ask vendors or art festivals, et cetera, to give that room around there. And depending on, I guess, and I would listen to the commission if it was like something that we singularly sponsored and be more of an official, like what you see on the screen here, might be more of a statement that this is really ours. The gradient was something to have a little fun with. Also with, as you know, art is, we could probably look at this and get 3 or 4 different opinions about that. So that's something also I hope is kind of built into that. I think it's going to be very important for us to have at least a 1/4 inch clearance. But let's be flexible. I mean, let's try to be friendly to get it out there.
Scroll back to the other.
Right, yeah, I guess with the transparent background, which I think I like, especially in your example on the Arts Festival poster, making sure that it's distinct from whatever's adjacent, I think will help in its readability. So my preference would be to see some sort of, like a small margin incorporated into those design standards, measured from maybe the using the block text or from the farthest edge of the logo.
Absolutely. And I think that'll be one of the final things I'll present, or I'll have Sydney give to you, would be some form of a style guide, nothing too major, but just a usage and how we want it to see and how we can work with folks as we do look at T-shirts and, if they are going to do some sort of screen printing or knitting. I've seen the yellow come out very nice in the knit ones, like on our CLI T-shirts. Those look pretty good. So yeah, definitely. You wanted me to scroll back this way or down?
You had this one.
Yeah.
I like that, but that almost looks too official.
Does that kind of take the fun out of it? The uniqueness about this one is because this one I lose the blue J, that's why I say this is draft, I'm still working on it.
Okay.
I went with a solid color.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the kind of the round badge-looking emblem for the folks tuning in from home. To better accentuate that J, so this is something you'll probably see near a final kind of proposition, is that just so that is distinguished. This still looks pretty good, but again, with the gradient, you're able to say, hey, okay, so we're right about the yellow, and we're going to actually make it just the cyan, the magenta, or just the cyan and the black.
I know, this looks good.
This is Commissioner Ham.
Yes, sir.
Personally, I'm liking the second one, the one that kind of looks more like a badge or a seal.
Okay.
Because I just feel like with that with the translucent background, you can actually do almost any kind of promotion of event, like a holiday or historical week or any kind of event that would draw people to a festival or something.
Thank you.
I like this one.
Yeah? Like I said, this is just going for flexibility, because I don't know yet, because I don't know how the board's going to move forward. I have some positive thoughts about that. I hope the board can do art displays, art shows, combination with the school, if not the college. That would be a super cool thing.
Okay.
Joe, anything from you?
No,
Okay.
that's perfect. It looks wonderful.
Thank you. Anybody else? Liz, I'm getting on this? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. My
Great, thanks.
email, please feel free to reach out to me with any more thoughts and concerns. That's not a problem for me, and I appreciate it.
So Matt, just to reiterate, this is really a Logo 1.0. It's a working in progress document. We're probably going to come back sometime in the future and discuss it a little bit further once Matt takes these comments and incorporates them.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all your effort.
Yeah, no
Good
problem.
work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me get that off there.
So do we have the presentation of public art viewer? Do you want to? Do you want to move to new business?
We have we have the presentation and discussion on the public art viewer. Just an update on that. So as discussed in our previous meetings, our GIS department was working on the drafting of the interface for the public arts viewer. We took a look at other cities and how they were formatting that public art viewer. We had some roughed pictures found just really on the internet of some public art found here in Apache Junction. And this is what the viewer is going to look like. It might be, well, actually, on your screen, it'll look just fine. On my screen, it looks a little bit different. But the idea is that this will be on our public arts page, and a user will be able to scroll through the locations there and then read the description for each public art picture. And you could click on the bottom as well. For those commissioners at home, this link right now is internal, so we couldn't share that. I'm going to work with GIS to see if we could perhaps provide an interface where, because you weren't here at the meeting, you're not able to really see this live. Perhaps there's a link that we could send that to you somehow before it actually goes and we put on our website. Any questions on this public art viewer?
When this goes live, are we going to have more information about the additional pieces, say the artist's name, when it was produced, what the medium is?
Absolutely, Commissioner Nicholas. So the idea here was just as a rough draft to show you what the interface would look like. All the information that was included in your artist inventory form, including description, artist, materials used, when it was constructed, all that information will be in the description. Any questions regarding this public art viewer?
Until I can actually look at it, I won't have any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Ham. And of course, you'd be able to see this on the live stream as well. There might be a slight lag, but you'd be able to see it there as well. And I think that leads up to our next item on our agenda, which is the presentation, discussion, and update from the commissioners regarding the public art inventory, which we're going to use on this public art viewer. Commissioner Ham sent me an email last night with some of his findings. One commissioner said that she didn't really find anything in our section, but really haven't heard anything else from the remainder of the commissioners. I'm sure it's been difficult with your full-time jobs and other at-home responsibilities, and I just wanted to get an update from the remainder of the commissioners that I haven't heard from of where they are on that. Like I said, I've heard from Commissioner Ham. I haven't heard anything from Chair Buys. Buys, can you provide us with an update, please?
Sure. Yeah. So I talked to Anne, and we kind of coordinated while she's out of town on thoughts for where she might know some art that was in the zones. I believe it was 2 and 4, which is kind of east of the highway, west of the highway and north of Apache Trail. So I kind of scouted out the main roads and have some photos that I will be compiling with the appropriate forms to submit. So I should have that to you prior to next month's meeting. And I'd say it ranged from, just in order to get a broad, cast a wide net, get a broad survey, the stuff that I saw ranged from, wagons in people's yards to, statues of horses that were on private property. And then, of course, the median art that's along Apache Trail, as well as some art that is on, commercial walls and at businesses. I think one of the more recent additions I noted was at the new, what's it called? Mountain America Bank right out there by Fry's. They have a pretty nice cast bronze statue of an eagle out front. So I'll be kind of sorting through those to highlight the pieces that I think are kind of especially deserving of attention, and we'll document those and send those in to you for next month.
Thank you, Chair Buys. Commissioner Klett.
Hi. I haven't finished my whole area. I haven't found anything yet that I thought was considered, art. I do know of a road runner on Tomahawk, but I don't think that that's in my area. But I'm going to look it up anyway. Just, I'll write down the stuff because I've seen it and just to make sure that it got covered. So I expect to wrap it up by next month.
Thank you, Commissioner Klett. Vice Chair Steinberger.
Yes, and just to let the rest of the board members know that Sydney was instrumental in having and placing and has information on the bronze eagle in front of the bank. So he'll get us more information on that. My area primarily is Flatiron Park, the Kachina, the focal points. I also went outside a little bit of the area. Silly Mountain has a couple of nice agave sculptures, and I'll ask Liz from the Parks and Recs Commission to give us some more information on that. I have some photographs I took as well of possible areas that we can even do murals and other arts, and I'll have that for you completed by our next meeting.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Nicholas.
My area really had absolutely nothing. I drove around. People probably thought I was casing their houses, but yeah, we have some work to do in my area because there was absolutely nothing.
Thank you, Commissioner Nicholas. So it sounds like, and Vice Chair and I spoke about this prior to the meeting, and it was staff sentiment as well, that we're just going to extend the deadline to our next month's meeting, which is October 12th, and then we'll see where we're at that meeting in time.
This is Commissioner Ham. Sydney, did you need me to compile images of the pictures along the highway overpasses, of the artwork along the highway overpasses, or is that those pretty well known to the city enough that I don't need to worry about inventorying those?
Commissioner Ham, I don't think you need to do that. The idea was from staff, since that's a kind of a known art feature here in the city, is possibly having the drone take those pictures, and then we provide them via drone.
Okay.
But thank you, Commissioner.
All right, we're ready to move on to periodic update of.
Yeah,
Art
so,
revenue?
yep, next item on the agenda is the periodic update of the art fee revenue. So up to date, we've had 5 projects that have contributed to the fund. And right now, our balance in the fund is $2,698.96. So not a lot to really do anything too impactful, but there may be other projects in the works that will be contributing to the fund within a couple of months or so. Any questions?
Have all those projects elected for to go the route of the fee rather than providing their own art?
I believe that's Chair Byes. Yes, they have elected to pay the fee. Any questions regarding what we've been able to accumulate so far?
If I could, Madam Chair. So we keep track of these monies in the Development Services Department as the permits come over the counter. So we haven't quite worked things out with Finance Department on, making sure the information syncs, but so these are essentially our cash register receipts that we've gone back and looked at projects since the fee went into place in February, I think it was. So again, I don't know that if there's not new fees coming in every month, then we
Right.
don't feel we need to report it. But as projects
agree.
come in, and we do have a couple office buildings coming up, but it could be, 2 or 3 more months before they pull a permit. So it's like, again, we want to just let you know that revenue is coming in, and then as projects happen, we'll certainly let you know. So you know how much you have to do the first great project.
So we can't spend it all yet? Okay. All right, then, thank you. Let's move on to new business.
Good evening,
Hello.
Vice Chair Steinberger, members of the commission. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm really happy to be here. I'm going to just queue up a few of my little presentation items here. Let's see. Liz Lingenbach, the Parks and Recreation Director, by the way. Okay. So we have a few different things on your agenda. The first that we had shared in your packet is the dog park art. And so this location, as with all other construction projects in the city, it does fall under the same code. And so we have been very excited about thinking about where would be really good places for art in this park. There's always the usual, entrance monuments and different things like that. But we did ask J2, who is our design firm that's working on the dog park, to really look at what were some places where people can either interact with art or where they would be the most meaningful to the people who are visiting the park itself. Mm-hmm. And so these are all just ideas. Today I'm just going to present to you kind of some of the thoughts of where art could be placed. And then I will show you a few of the samples or I'll discuss with you a few of the ideas that have been thrown out there. But it's really up to you. So these are just kind of food for thought. We are not set on any one thing. And we definitely feel like this is one piece that is really for the Arts Commission to help us to decide. So the Parks and Recreation Commission has already seen these, and they are, I think I'm okay saying, they are very excited to partner with you guys for this first project together and having your input on this, really important piece of the dog park. I went down to the wrong part. I'm going to try to blow this up just a little bit. Okay, and so if you look kind of in the center, for those of you that are not seeing the screen, I am looking at the dog park rendering that kind of shows where the art is placed. And they are proposing putting some different pads there, so that way we'll also, even if we didn't have all of it incorporated at the grand opening, we'd still have opportunities to kind of grow the idea of the artwork. These sections of the dog park are all kind of our entry nodes, so they're all areas where people would enter into our fenced dog park area, where people might be sitting and enjoying different things in the park, where they will see it even from the county side as they're parking and going to the county offices and be able to kind of interact with the art. Just for clarification, so right here is Idaho Road, and then Superstition is on the other side. We will be having a monument sign out here in the front, but at this time we have not identified that necessarily as a place for art. This corner over here currently has the county signage there, and so we don't really want to interfere with it. This is still the county complex and all of that, so we really don't want to interfere with that area right there. So I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to do my best to, there we go, get out of this. And just pull up, I'm going to pull up quickly for you just a few samples of what J2 had put together, and I'll explain it a little bit of what are some concepts. And so don't get these in your mind as this is what it's going to look like. It's more like a concept that they had shared. Mm-hmm. So they had recently done the Mustang Transit Center, and while they were incorporating art there, they wanted to kind of tell a story about what happens at a transit center and what people might be doing while they're sitting waiting for the bus. And so they put a tie into this area with books that people sit and might read a book while they're waiting for the bus, while they're waiting for transportation or on the bus. They wanted to incorporate something in nature that was in these areas because, as you can see, the entire design of this transit center has, a very natural setting. Mm-hmm. And so their group decided on having various books. So these are all actual different books that are out there in the world. And then birds basically reading the books. And so they put these all over in the various settings. They're small. There are places where they educate people and kind of let people know what the art means and what it was meant for. And so again, this is just kind of showing that art can be any size that you might be interested in. So we can do small things that are scattered throughout the park for people to find and to take interest in. That was one concept. They put a lot of different, there's a lot of ideas out there of using metalwork, some different images along the fencing that might be silhouettes of animals, of dogs, those kinds of things. So those were some of the sample ideas. And we can send this out. I did not share this it was quite a long thing, and I thought I was just going to explain it to everybody. So I will send it over to Sydney, and he can send it to those of you that are not able to see the screen. I apologize. One of the other ideas that had come about a little bit through our Parks and Rec Commission, as well as other people mentioning over time, is some of the art, like I don't know if you guys have seen the cows that they put out, and different artists will paint cows in a different depiction, and then those are scattered. What city or what state is that in? In Chicago, okay. And there's different states that kind of took on that theme. Some places it's the Mustangs, in Chicago it's cows. But we might pick something like dogs or fire hydrants or something fun that people can kind of really get excited about or get interested in. And then we would purchase sort of the blank ceramic or whatever the medium is, and then invite artists to submit applications to what they would design that, or we would just let them kind of design their own along with some parameters of how it would last, how it would be water resistant or weather permeable, those kinds of things. So that was one of the ideas, was something where we would have be able to allow various artists to be able to participate, as well as it might be a way to involve some of our youth in our community or other people that might want to be interested in it. The rest of the artwork, I don't want to sound like I'm choosing one or the other, but they just kind of threw in a bunch of different ideas. So there's a lot of things that are out there that have been at other dog parks that are either functional, where dogs can climb on them, or people can sit on the artwork, things that are big that might represent something in the community. So there's a lot of different things that, you guys, if you want to start looking around or thinking about things that you might have in mind, that would be great. The other part that they shared in this PDF that I am showing right now is just some of the different bases or the pedestals that could be utilized, so that way you can elevate the artwork so it's really visible from a lot of different areas. These are just some sample ideas. Another thing that kind of came about as we talked about, one of the things that we want to incorporate at the dog park is kind of a memorial area. And if you've been in been to Paris or know about the locks in Paris that people will put on one of the big, I think it's on the bridge, but it's fence work, and they put little locks and they write their name of themselves and whoever they love, and they click that to that fence. And so it's this fence that's just covered with all colors and different types of locks, and it's just a really neat place. So we thought about doing something with dog tags that on one portion of our fence, and people could commemorate their dog that is alive or that has passed away. They can get a dog, really the tag, not the collar, but the dog tag of their current dog or maybe one that they want to remember, and we would have a location in the park for that. And so a spin-off from that the J2 folks had designed was there are some things where they can hang more like chimes, and there'd be ways of attaching all the little dog tags to a chime, and then they kind of twirl in the wind. They can be something that's very it moves and it can attract attention. So that was another idea. I know some of the other Parks and Rec Commission thoughts were, incorporating, kind of like I said, that memorial type of thing. So a place where there might be a chance to, remember their pets that they've lost in the past. I think what we're looking for is something that is fun and something that's unique. We don't want to just do what everybody else does, but maybe take a lot of these ideas and kind of make them our own. And so I think our intent for art is just to share with you today the ideas and let you either give some feedback now of other things you'd like us to look into, but also for you to go out and if you have some ideas, I would love to come back and we'll discuss this topic again later. So we're not in a huge hurry. We have submitted all of our feedback on our 60% dog park drawings, and we'll probably be getting our 90% drawings at the end of this month, 1st of October, and so we still have time. And art is just going to be a piece of that, so it doesn't have to be complete, even when we go out to construction, when it's time. I kind of did this backwards. I jumped right into the art without telling you a little bit about the dog park. So if you have any questions about the art in general, I will follow up with just a couple of quick updates on the dog park itself. Questions on art?
I noticed in the original drawing that you gave us of the dog park, it shows that those little pads there, are those definitely going to be part of the design?
So they're just a concept right now. So you guys can, or this commission will certainly give us feedback. Oh, I didn't do it right. You will all be able to have feedback on whether you think this is appropriate or not. I am happy to take any of you out there. If you wanted to meet me at some point in time, we can walk out there and show you live. I think one of the things that we discovered as we showed community members and the Parks and Rec Commission members is that you don't think when you're driving by that it's really that big until you really look at it. And there's just so many opportunities. And so finding out where would be the best locations, I'm happy to take anybody, one by one or a couple of you at a time. And we won't ruin any open meeting laws by having more than however many, 3.
So I'm interested in public art like this, but I'm also interested in functional art within the park where animals, can jump on and people can sit on, where you wouldn't automatically think, oh, this is public art, but just
Right.
something that incorporates it. And that would also maybe not come completely out of our budget, but maybe out of construction.
Right.
Maybe we can do something like that. I like the idea of the tags and maybe even the pavers. I know everyone does that, but the pavers leading up to something where you imprint names and people who donate, things like that as well.
Definitely.
I'm thrilled with the things that you've shown us so far. I mean, there's some really different ideas there, and those are definitely ideas that could put us on the map. People say, hey, look what they're doing in Apache Junction. No, there's some really good stuff, and I like the tags, too. I thought that was wonderful.
When you have one question. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jared.
When you were mentioning, the idea of, we could either do, some big pieces or, a bunch of small pieces, when you were saying the idea of small pieces, something came into my head from that downtown Phoenix has. One of the hotels, features a bunch of art around the area, and then there's, a game where you have to find all the different pieces, and then there's a prize that you get from that the hotel provides if you find all of the different pieces of art in the area.
Oh, like a scavenger hunt. That's great.
Yeah.
So that's actually and we will share this with you, but one of the neat things about the birds that were kind of scattered throughout, they had a map and then you could kind of go and find them, or a scavenger hunt. So we talked a little bit about, if we chose like the dogs or some other kind of thing that was replicated in multiple places, it doesn't have to just be at the dog park. It could start there, and there's other places in the community where dogs are welcome. And so kind of having that scavenger hunt so that it goes throughout the community might be a really neat feature. So definitely a great idea, and we will kind of keep playing with those. I'm sorry, Vice Chair Steinberg, I didn't mention, so you had brought up the functional art. Absolutely, I just wanted to comment on that we do have large boulders are in the construction plans right now, so they are part of the budget, that are for dogs to climb on, but they're not too angular where they're unsafe. People can sit on them, those kinds of things. So we'll have some that are fit into the scenery, but there might be some that the benches themselves could be art and something that dogs can climb on. So we're definitely open to all of those.
This is Commissioner Klett. You just made me think that, somebody could do an etching on one of those rocks or something like that as
yeah.
well. I really love your idea about the tags, and I see it like a Calder sculpture, some kind of a mobile. I love the idea of that moving and jingling. I know about the locks of love, and I know that they get really heavy after a while and that they've had to replace some of those
Good.
balls
No.
because they get so heavy. But the dog tag sounds like a fantastic idea. The other thing I'd like to say is you're all really thinking about great things and how to make it our own and how to build off stuff. So I think with your creativity that you're thinking about in there, with the animals and so forth, I think with our input, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I think so.
And if there's a little bit of time, I just wanted to clarify. Sorry, I'm watching on the video as well, so I'm a little behind. But were you saying that the monument sign is located at the corner of Superstition and Idaho?
Yes, that is where the actual park monument sign is located. Over there by where this other white building on the far south end, right across from that, there is a monument sign there already that is the county complex sign. And so we wouldn't want to change that.
Okay, and then on the north, well, I'm looking plan west, kind of plan northwest. Is that a drainage piece of infrastructure, or is that a connection to the street?
I'm sorry, did you say northeast or northwest corner?
Northwest.
Okay,
Northwest.
so down here at the corner of Idaho and Superstition, there's like the little rectangular thing at the end. That's a monument. That's just kind of like the monument sign from a bird's eye view. And then just beyond it is part of the drainage structure that's going to be there.
And north of that, near the entrance to the complex off of Superstition Boulevard, it looks like it's leading to a drainage channel there, but it's also coming right across the sidewalk. And I was just curious if that's, and then there's a dashed rectangle there also. I was curious if that was.
So this is one of the main spillways of the drainage. So the drainage is actually coming from up by the police department on the other side of Superstition, and it goes under the road currently, and it will continue to go under the road and under the sidewalk. This is probably not the best diagram of that because it is it's like one layer of the plans that is more hardscape, and so it's a little hard to kind of tell what it looks like in real life. But this is a big portion this is the main drainage where it comes, where the water is going to come down. And that kind of just so I can quickly tell you, that's kind of how the drainage is planned for this project, is that we are not, right now it currently comes through there and flows right into the big basin. And as you know, the basin just fills up with water and the water sits there for much longer than it's supposed to. There are drainage ducts down here on this side. I'm sure there's better terminology for that, but currently they are above the grade of where the drainage channel is, so only the water that is really like on a big major flood, goes through those channels and keeps flowing on down. Everything else just sits in the grass area. And we definitely do not want water sitting in the grass area that, so there's a lot of different things that are being done to fix that. One is that we will actually be routing water around the dog park. This is a low flow swale right here along the dog park edge. So on most all events of rain, the water is going to go around the dog park. The only time that the basin really fills up dramatically is if we were to have a major event like we did this last year. And those, you know, they say they're 100-year storms or whatever. They're coming like every 5 years right now, so, or so. So that's kind of what all of this shaded area around the dog park is a lot of the different drainage channels.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I was curious if that was coming above grade or visible from the street at all, and if there was an opportunity there for, you know, in integrating that piece of infrastructure into some form of artwork as well. But it sounds like it's more of a spillway that's leading down below the road level without much visibility from.
And so while it might not be art, I do think there's a lot of ways that we are wanting to kind of blend it in and to make sure that it is aesthetically pleasing. So we are looking at the gabion walls, like, you know, they have the rocks inside of the cages, and so there's just some different things that we're doing. Nick Blake, who was our park superintendent, he is still a consultant on this project. He is a landscape architect who has a lot of really creative ideas of how to kind of make our places usable, maintenance-wise as well, and then also just really aesthetically pleasing. So we will show you some better designs of that next time, just because I think it's probably something of value for to have your input on.
Right. Yeah. Well, I really like that riparian aesthetic. It works really well for the desert and for drainage channels. It's like a little, just like going out into the Superstition Wilderness and looking at the big washes there.
Other thoughts on art? And just real quickly, we're using a lot of the existing, so the reason why we picked this site, there's already so much shade that we don't have to bring in and have, you know, immature trees and wait for them to grow. We have a lot of wonderful mature trees that will be saved and that will be part of the design, as well as additional trees for more shade. There will be 3 sections of this dog park. And then we are incorporating the fencing that we're using is going to be something a little different. It is a very sturdy fence, a little bit different than what we've used in other sites, but very strong, but it's also a little bit see-through. So I'll bring a little bit more sampling of some images of that to our next meeting so that you can see it. But good ways to kind of, we want to not have the dogs worried so much about what's going on the road and things like that, but we don't want it to be so institutionalized that it's just these bars and things around our park. We really want it to blend into the environment. So those are kind of the main, you know, it's a very simple park. This is what we could afford. We are in our finishing up design phase, but this park is going to be funded very similarly to Flatiron Park, where it is we'll be utilizing mostly development fee money, which can only be used for parks and facilities in our department. In addition, we'll have some corporate partnership opportunities, as well as we are looking for several different grants that we've started researching, and now that we have some more of our estimates and things like that, we'll be able to start putting forth some information out on that. And so that phase will be happening here. We don't have all the money at this moment in time, and so we will not be able to begin construction until we have the majority of that funding. However, we have a little over $600,000-ish in our development fee money right now, and so we feel really good about where we're at this point comparatively to where we were at Flatiron. Once people see what it's going to be, you know, that's when people really are interested, corporate partners, grantees, that they are grantors are interested in giving to it, so we're excited for that. No other questions on that? Oh, I'm sorry, was there anybody else on the line with a question?
So another thought occurred to me as, you know, back to Katrina's point about usable art, and you were mentioning kind of the design of the fence. Another piece of infrastructure that I imagine is going to be extremely important here is refuse containers and the doggy waste containers specifically. Do you have products that are selected for those already? I'm wondering if there's an opportunity there to do something unique but functional.
Yeah, they have proposed some ideas to us, but that doesn't mean we can't look around a little bit more. We have many catalogs of all the wonderful things in a park, garbage cans and benches and things like that. And so we can definitely share that and kind of look to see if there's some unique ways. Or again, if as you are, looking what's out there in other parks or throughout the world, throughout the nation, there's a lot of things on Google that you might have interest in. Certainly send that our way.
Great.
This is Commissioner Klett. I saw a thing where somebody built a box and it was called a stick library, and they were sticks for the dogs to play with because there weren't any sticks in the park or trees and stuff for them to play with. So they were reusable sticks. And then they had like interesting sayings on them. I do wood burning, so maybe we could do something like that as a group, a community group thing too.
That's an excellent point. We are going to be having a couple of committees that will be working with us on some of our operational things at the park. So rules and regulations, as well as what are some of the things that are going to be happening there. There are some things that we have heard concern of communal water bowls is not a good idea. There's some things that they can't share necessarily,
Right.
but I bet there's a way of incorporating. That's an awesome idea. And even if it was that they could keep the one that they have and take it, I had not heard of an idea like that.
Yeah, I would see why. I can understand why you'd have those considerations.
Great idea, though.
Great idea.
This is Commissioner Ham. The only other comment I have is that I would definitely be interested in getting a view of this area at some point. And I would like to get in touch about that.
Perfect. When I send out the samples to Sydney, he will share with you my email address or my phone number, and then we can just coordinate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So then the next item in my section here is the South Route 88 roundabout, and you all had been given this rendering. This was designed at one time of what that's going to look like there, and so it is so we do have conduit in place for the electrical, for a little bit of lighting, as well as the irrigation that is going to be needed at this site. It does not have any of that stuff pulled through, so those are part of the costs that we'd have to research and make sure that we have in place. But the concept of this is that we would have kind of a similar, and again, it could be anything you guys wanted. This is literally just so that we could have something in place, but Nick Blake had put what kinds of plants that he was kind of envisioning here in this structure around the base of it. And then in the middle would be some type of artwork that you guys would choose, or that would be donated to the city, or however that goes about over time. Let's see here. Use my tool here. So this over here is the City Hall complex, just to give you an idea. And this is just an above rendering of kind of what are some of the plants and things that are in here. Let me see if I can bring this up one more time. I don't know if I can go any. Nope. You can kind of look to see, though, what are the types of plants that we are proposing. All of them are really either native or desert types of landscape that we can start them with water, and then they could really be sufficient on their own later on once they've established.
Nice.
So thoughts?
When this was developed, were ADOT considerations or ADOT standards consulted?
So thank you for bringing that up. So at the time that ADOT was doing their design, we were a part of those meetings just to discuss. So we have, the Parks and Recreation Department has maintenance responsibility for all the landscaped area basically, and then Public Works does all the drainage, sidewalks, and there is some desert areas that are not landscaped. And so we discussed what could be here, but ultimately they told us that whatever we decided, we are gonna have to go through a proposal process with them. And so this is just something that we kind of had canned and ready to go, and just really is waiting for direction from city manager's office as well as the Arts Commission. I think it was just we only took over ownership of this last January or February. And so basically, we're just waiting on direction that once we have gotten a proposal that everybody is happy with, then we would have to submit that to ADOT for their final approval.
This is Vice
Yeah,
Chair.
I'm just trying to understand. I've worked with ADOT a bit in the past, and understanding kind of what comes first, the chicken or the egg, in terms of design versus their standards can sometimes be a bit confusing. So it sounds like the process would really be us having a proposal that would be reviewed by ADOT rather than them having visibility guidelines that we could start with.
We absolutely will ask before we spend a lot of time on the design. I think that there's no harm in asking if they have some guidelines. When we asked at the time, it was kind of like, well, there's a lot of different roundabouts out there, and it really depends. But honestly, we haven't asked recently. I don't think that it would hurt to reach out, though, and just get a couple of those if they have any guidance. And then we have looked at roundabouts about our size to see kind of how they've, how tall, how wide, how, big the structures can be without impeding on visibility.
Well, and the good thing about a roundabout is, the whole point is that you're looking kind of in the direction of travel, right? You're not having to look around blind corners.
Exactly.
But good. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear, just kind of some basic guidelines if they have them on, in terms, like you said, height, size, and visibility criteria. That'd be valuable information as we're kind of considering, what's going to be the focal point of that intersection, especially with the, the backdrop of the mountain there is just really a critical intersection for the city, I feel.
I would think that we would want to have those specifications in before we put out a request for proposals from artists, so they don't spend a lot of time.
Absolutely. In addition, I think you guys would so here's what I think the process is. We will absolutely ask if there are some other guidelines we should consider from ADOT, but we would be seeking your input as we design this. Do you like this? Do you want to look at something different? You would give a recommendation, I would imagine, and we would take that back to city management and on up to city council for them to make a final, acceptance of the proposal. And then we'd be proposing that to ADOT. And the art itself then would have some specifications that we absolutely would make sure was a part of a RFP or whatever that process ends up being through you guys.
So is it possible, because there's a roundabout that's wonderfully done in Scottsdale around 90th Street, and I was trying to look for photographs of it and I couldn't find it, where it's just landscape. So is it possible that we can just landscape it and then at some point in the future be able to put a piece of art in there, at least something to get it done, because we don't know when we're going to have the funds for the art, but at least get something. And that one in Scottsdale is beautifully done.
Yes, absolutely. We can certainly do that. We were not asked to budget this budget year for anything, but that doesn't mean we can't look to see whether there's funders or other types of resources. We can definitely I think we already have a cost estimate on some of those things. So again, that can be part of what we bring back to kind of share and talk about ideas. So whether or not we're trying to get it done right away, that might have to wait till we identify a funding source for it. Or again, if this proposal is agreed upon and it can go to council, it can be part of the budget for next year, part of the budget proposal for next year.
Okay, or do it in stages.
Yep, and we absolutely can do the landscape before the art is installed. In fact, art pedestals were purchased, all the materials for the art pedestals along Apache Trail, Old West Highway and Apache Trail, and those were already identified and ready to go for when art came. We ended up not putting all of them in because we only had one piece of art at the time, but we have all the materials for the pedestals that are ready for that. So that's another part too, that if it's a low-cost thing, we might get that ahead of time.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, there we go.
Another comment?
So this is Commissioner Ham. I have a question. if we have a piece of art in the middle of the roundabout, where would be a place that's accessible via foot or car that that people would actually be able to get the information on besides online?
So, if that was something that was desired, I'm sure that we could look at a location by City Hall is what I would recommend, and I'm certainly open to other ideas as we move down later, you know, that you guys can give that some thought. If that is important to you, I think it'll be awesome. It'll end up being in your, our inventory on the GIS map. But we could probably look at some type of a plaque or something that explains whatever we wanted to explain about this art and share about the artwork. We definitely would not be able to do it in the roundabout. I think that everybody already understands that. There's no way to walk across to it. But maybe on the City Hall landscape property might be an appropriate place. There is sidewalks there, and people could park.
The thought of safety was exactly why I had that question, because it's usually common for art to have nearby something that explains it, so I didn't want people, you know, to think that, oh, I'm going to stop here at the roundabout to go look at this.
Because they will if we don't have it someplace. Great suggestion. Okay. All right, if there's no other questions, then I'll move on to the next item in the presentation. So these are a couple of those were two items that that are on your radar that we want to be working with you directly on. Just wanted to bring your attention to a couple of other projects, just so that you're aware that they're already kind of in process and that we are looking at. And if you have any input on that, you know, I'd love to hear it. First off, you guys have the best pictures of the Flatiron mural. I just wanted to share a little bit about kind of what came about with the Flatiron mural, not mule. That project, you know, it was just a brown wall, and we had been talking about wanting to add color. The entire park itself is a lot of, you know, muted greens, and, you know, other than the splash pad area, there's not a whole lot of other color in the park, and so we really wanted to jazz that up. And so it was really, we worked with one of our staff members to create sort of a community project with all of our youth. And our Youth Advisory Council had a little bit of input on that, as well as incorporating, he had done a really nice piece. So John Underwood is the artist and one of our staff members. He had done a really nice piece across the road at Flatiron Plaza. And so we really kind of wanted to tie all that downtown together. And so we had him do something similarly. So this was just kind of one of the beginning stages of what is here. All the butterflies were filled in by the youth, and they added a bunch of other they added some of the flowers and the blooms to all of this. The kickoff was on Make a Difference Day last year, and so when we partnered with Community Development Corporation, one of the big projects was Think Desert, the whole Flatiron area, and the youth being able to be a part of that art project. I don't know if this will work. The second part, and I'll just play this and kind of explain while it's going. It's only about 35. Oh, darn it. Okay. Do I have to log in? Okay. So while we had done that first piece, it is a really long wall, and it is a lot bigger than anybody would think. You can only do so much because it's also not that high. And so one of the things that we asked Josh to incorporate over these last COVID months was putting a message on the wall that people could drive by. And so this will change over time. We have not changed it recently. He also works for the city of Mesa, and so he doesn't have all the time in the world, but we would love to invite, you know, others to kind of be a part of this. We did use a Girl Scout group that came and helped to kind of finish that off whenever they were done, and they kind of filled it in. But incorporating the same look that the wall is taking on, but having a positive message for the community whenever they drive by. So we just wanted to share that with you. Kind of came before your guys' group, and so it's already there and kind of in process. But there's still a lot of wall left, and as we look at, you know, carrying on the theme that we have or incorporating other ideas, you know, we'll certainly be sharing that with you guys. The last item that is on our list recently, community members had shared with the city council their desire for erecting one of the largest American flags. Their proposal, I think, is to have the largest in the state. And so the flag, this one is much bigger. This one is probably about twice the size as the one that's being proposed. But this one is actually the largest flag in America. It's at 400 feet high. The flag that was being proposed to be flown is 50 foot by 80 foot. And the proposed idea was that it would be at Flatiron Park. And so we were asked by or given direction by council to take back the idea and to do some research on the costs of, what all those costs would be as far as purchasing the pole and the flag and whatever other accessories are needed, the installation of it, later on the maintenance and upkeep of something of that magnitude, and just having some details ready. In addition, we were asked to think of other considerations that need to be happen. And it kind of came to Parks and Recreation because the proposed idea was that it would be at Flatiron Park. And so us kind of taking the lead on asking both our Parks and Rec Commission, they mentioned that they would like, your guys' thoughts and discussion on it. And so I wanted to make sure I added in here of if there are other things that we should be looking at right now. We are in research phase right now, so there's a lot of considerations that we are taking into account, liability concerns as far as once, engineering it, erecting it, where, what are all the things that we need to take into consideration as it is definitely a pole this size has to have a base that is much more, much bigger than the standard flag poles that we have at our parks. The location itself, so it was mentioned in our Parks and Rec Commission as well as from other members in the community that have reached out, just that Flatiron itself is such a small park, and to have a large flag like that might be a tough one to get into that footprint there. And so we are looking at Flatiron, as well as if there are other suggestions in the community that we would be sharing in our feedback when we come back to council. And then the maintenance and operational items. So some of those are the other considerations that we have on the list. For example, is this one going to go to half staff whenever there is the governor's order like the rest of our flags? It would be very difficult, and it is definitely something different. We would have to have some guidelines on the expectation of that. Additionally, so all of our flags, there are definitely some standards that have to happen with when you're flying the American flag. It has to be lit from the ground. If it's going to fly 24/7, so that it has to be lit at night when it's up. Some of the different half-staff considerations, as well as you cannot fly a flag that is tattered or worn, and so it has to be replaced on a regular basis. So, it's very costly of the flags that we have now, and we have a lot of great support from some of our veterans groups to help with that. So those are some of the things that we're researching, all the details of that. We have also reached out to some of our local veterans organizations. My understanding is that many of them are part of this conversation already, and they had also been approached by the member of the community that was proposing the flag. And so I think a lot of them have a lot of support for it, but they certainly are aware of that there's a lot of considerations, and so they are helping us to kind of come up with some of the things that would have to be thought through before deciding whether or not we could accept. And I failed to mention, the community members are talking about that they would be raising the funds for the entire project. And so finding out what that actual number is and whether they, have those numbers in hand. I think some of them are aware of how costly it can be, but we'll be sharing that. And so we are sharing all of these details at our October 6th City Council meeting, just to share based on the direction that we received to research some of these items and bring it back for a discussion. The last item is talking with Joel and what are some of the things when we're receiving these items that we need to consider, but also with Southwest Risk, our insurance provider, what is the city's liability in certain things of this nature. The other part, as you can see here, I know it was brought up a lot that it could be a great attraction, and people would come, from far away to be able to see it. Figuring out where it could be placed so that, scale of size, as people are trying to take a photo with it. If it's too big, it's too hard to get the entire pole and everything in there. We gotta hurry up, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, there's not a meeting after this, okay. So those are some of the things that we have heard through Parks and Rec Commission, the items that council had shared during their last meeting as they gave us direction. And I just wanted to see if there are other thoughts that you guys have. You know, it's not necessary, it can be considered art, but it's not necessarily an art piece. And so it's not necessarily something that's going to come back and be a recommendation from you, I don't believe at this time. But would love to have any thoughts or things that you think we should be adding to our considerations and research.
My main concern, because I've been following the discussions on this, I think it's a great idea. My main concern is the maintenance of the flag itself. When I was at the Superstition Mountain Museum, we routinely went through 3 or 4 flags a year because the weather just beats them. And as you say, you can't fly it if it's tattered.
Right.
So how often are you going to have to replace this? That was my main concern. Otherwise, I mean, I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yes, we are learning that a flag the size that's being proposed, some of the others in the state that are close to that in size, they are replaced every 3 to 6 months. And our flag contacts have said that being in the area we're in with our monsoons, being near the superstitions, our wind levels here are such a way that we would definitely have to be kind of taking that into consideration.
This is Commissioner Ham. My opinion on this would definitely be that Flatiron would not be the best location because of its size, and we'd be wanting, there's festivals held there regularly as well as other kinds of events. I think that kind of monument would definitely not be best at Flatiron Park. However, a new facility feature for it would be a great opportunity for us to incorporate new additional forms of art, especially patriotic themed or Arizona themed, to help with the attractiveness of it.
Thank you. Put that down.
If I can bend your ear, I'm going to put a couple disparate thoughts together, if I may, really quickly. This is Commissioner Bai. So at the beginning of the meeting, we were discussing kind of our surveys that we've been doing around town of where we've identified public art. And in my zone is Prospector Park, which is a great sports facility. It's enormous, to say really. So the scale of that park seems to be in line with the scale of this monument that's being proposed. And in your exhibit that you provided for the dog park, you located, or you noted potential locations for art. And I'm curious if a similar study was done during the development of Prospector Park for monuments or art, and if Prospector Park is currently being looked at as an alternate location in this endeavor.
So yes, we have kicked around Prospector Park as well as the Veterans Memorial Park. It's just a gazebo it's on the opposite corner as the dog park at Superstition in Idaho. There's a big vacant kind of area outside of that. That's another potential idea. But certainly Prospector Park has a lot of potential sites there as well. No, they don't have, so that park was done so many years ago and it was definitely a phased piecemeal park. We don't have anything that kind of identified art locations, but we definitely have maps that we could, be able to share and look at that as an opportunity for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no further questions.
Good.
Thank you, Liz.
All right, and that just concludes what we've got going on. I've taken up a ton of your time, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be keeping art in mind and certainly be bringing back other thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the update.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. All right. At this time, we're going to go to information and reports. Do any of the board members have any comments on this agenda item? No. Okay, then let's move on to director's report. Sydney?
We don't have anything, and then I think for future, though, we didn't want to call it director's report, we might just call it staff report or something.
Okay, I like
So-
that.
So you know.
Okay. Then let's do a call for future agenda items. Would any board member like to add items to the next agenda meeting? All right, we're going to move on to agenda item 13. It looks like the next proposed meeting is October 12th, 2020, at the City Council Chambers located at 300 East Superstition Boulevard, Apache Junction. May I have a motion to accept that meeting date?
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you. May I please have roll call?
Commissioner Nicholas,
Yes.
Commissioner Steinberger,
Yes.
Commissioner Chair Buys,
Yes.
Commissioner Ham,
Yes.
Commissioner Klett.
Yes.
Unanimous, 5 votes.
Thank you.
And I did note for the record that Commissioner Nicholas did arrive at the meeting at 5:45.
Yes,
And-
I apologize for
No,
being
that's
late.
okay, no problem. I just want to make sure that the minutes are going to reflect that, so.
Certainly that she came in person. Okay. This meeting of the Apache Junction Public Art Commission is adjourned at 6:55 PM.